my dad's been around. So in that regard, it captures quite a bit. I had to think of a couple of things that, you know, would sort of bring around the 80 years that my dad's been here. And it took a little more than a little pad, basically a legal pad. And that doesn't really capture all of it either. However, suffice to say that my dad has done a great many things in 80 years. And again, all being the sort of iron core of his friends and family, and the descendants of those who are here in spirit as well. I had to think about what that picture really epitomized, and what I came up with is that he's here at 80 years old today because of an extreme sense of optimism. And I think that can best be summed up very recently when the Hurricane Sandy was on its way here. And I called over to my dad and I said, "Hey Dad, this big hurricane coming, there's could be a lot of trees down and things, you know, could be a really serious situation." "Oh, that's not a problem, Chris. We live in an area the power doesn't go out." That's the answer I got. So I pretty much figured, well, the guy lives, it's the eternal optimist. Everyone else may lose power. I'm in an area that doesn't lose power. But he was right, it didn't go out. So I thought about that.
And how'd that work out?
He didn't lose power.
He didn't lose it. Those of you who don't know my father as well as maybe some people here, okay, he certainly has had a sense of optimism that has inspired certainly me and most of us here in one form or another. I started to put down a couple of different events. Something else that would exhibit the fact that he's the optimist. I said, "You know, Dad, you're getting older, you can't hear so well." "What?" He says, "I only hear what I need to hear." Another answer that's pretty much in line with the way he thinks. If I don't hear it, it's not worth hearing. So, again, the eternal optimism. But that optimism over the years has yielded things such as a very adventurous life for anybody who's been around, and it's certainly inspiring in many ways. We owned a boat when we were younger. We bought a big boat. We had fun on the boat for a couple of years, and it sank. It doesn't diminish the fact that we had a lot of fun on the boat. He always wanted to fly airplanes. Took me for a flight in an airplane when I was 7 or 8 years old, and I went on to fly 20 years in the military, and I'm 20 years at a major commercial airline. So he inspires through a lot of things that he's done. He bought an old junk cabin upstate. Went back and forth on that, cleaning it up, fixing it. Most of you here have been there. It burned to the ground. In the hospital in Kingston, after having jumped out the window and watching his car burn and his house burn, he said, "It's all right, we'll rebuild another one." And today there's another house. So there is a lot to be said for what we do in life as far as optimism is concerned. My mother likes to say that I'm quite not the optimist that my father is, and I don't know whether that's always good or bad. I tend to make a living thinking about what could go wrong. He makes a living, or has made a living, over what could go right. So in that regard, there's been an equal balance. The joy in life, a lot of times, I think, comes from not so much what you accomplish at the end of it, and the materialistic things. My grandmother died at 93 on the same day as George Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner was worth over $1 billion. My grandmother was worth about $10,000. They both stand before God in the same light. And ultimately, what we achieve here doesn't really matter much, materialistically. But the bonds you form with your friends and your family, and the optimism and the very aspect of living life and doing things to the best of your ability is what makes us who we are. As I said, you can't take anything with you when you leave, and what we are left with in the end is simply the joy of doing what we wanted to do in life. And that applies to everybody here in this room. You have to dream big, take risks, work hard, and the most important thing is never give up. And my father has taught me never to give up. Very few of us, if any of us in this room, can say we are the best at anything in the world. Nobody is really the best at anything. Ultimately, all that matters is that you try the hardest you can and never give up. That's the single biggest piece of advice he's given me, and that is what has inspired me to achieve some level of success so far in my life. No man operates in isolation, and that certainly applies to my dad, and it's appropriate that today would be their anniversary of 55 years, in addition to their my father's 80th birthday, because without one, there wouldn't be the other. Through ups and downs, trials and sorrows, victories and defeats, which is really what all of life is, they've never given up on each other, on their family, or on their friends. And that sense of optimism is the finest trait I think that you can have. Dad has provided a life of inspiration and adventure, and I hope people can say that about each and every one of us when we and after we reach that age of 80. I'll close by saying, may you continue to inspire and enlighten the lives of those around you for many years to come. Perhaps the best thing that has happened in your life is being able to inspire your family and your friends to achieve good things in life. And that's the best thing that anybody can say about it.